Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the launch of ONEST Network. On this day, as we onset on this journey of ONEST ecosystem and the network, we have a lot of people joining us. We already have about 100 folks, yes, and the number is growing. So we'll give it 1 or 2 more minutes for people to join. All right, welcome once again at the onset of ONEST. Let's dive right into it. So ONEST envisions a fair, accessible, and decentralized network, enabling individuals and organizations to unleash their full potential and seamlessly access learning and livelihoods opportunities. In fact, if I go back a bit in the history of ONEST, this effort started as an open source community effort under the Beacon Protocol community, Beacon Open Collective, about a year and a half ago, where the idea of a network that powers learning, livelihood, education, skilling was brewing. And I think today, as a community, we've come a long way to launch this network, and hence on this special occasion, I'm very pleased to invite Shankar Marwada, co-founder and CEO, EkStep Foundation. And Shankar is also on the panel of National Curriculum Framework. With over 25 years of experience, Shankar has been involved in various sectors and taken various roles in his journey, with the naming of Aadhaar to the EkStep mission, and so on and so forth. So Shankar, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarang. And welcome all panelists and participants. Education and skilling directly impacts 510 million children and youth, and indirectly impacts every Indian today and in the coming decades. The problem here is that this is as not just two sectors, education and then skilling and livelihood. The scale of India is vast, but the diversity of it is mind-bogglingly complex. And the complexity here is not just in terms of the economic, socio-geographical diversity, but also to solve the problem of education and skilling livelihood. We are not just looking at better content, better training, better courses. We also need internships, jobs. We also need scholarships for the gifted, for the marginalized, for the deserving. We also need a mentor network. On the one hand, there are the central institutions and the state government institutions. On the other hand, you have many innovative private sector players, either for profit or not for profit. Or as Step's co-founder Rohini Nidekani calls it, this is a whole of society problem involving Sarkar, Samaj, and Bazaar. Many efforts have happened over the last few decades leveraging technology, but we still see a lot of those have resulted in islands of excellence, fragmented efforts, and a lot of them are plagued by the same common problem of the high cost of establishing trust, the high cost of discovering providers, the inefficiencies of transaction. And so as a group around a year and a half ago, we asked the question, are there other ways of looking at it? And we realized that both in the digital and non-digital world, there have been several efforts that we could be inspired by. The easiest and the one right in under our noses is the original network, also known as the internet, the original digital network. It's so obvious, we don't think of it as a network, but it is a network. There are other networks, the good old radio network, whether it be the FM now or the AM channels in our, some of us remember, the mobile network, the ATM network, all around us when we see with the right eyes, we see that we have solved India's problems of diversity, scale, complexity, and the need for many, many solutions and many solution providers through a network approach, by creating a network. What happens when you create a network? Each participant has a choice of joining into the network. By the way, the electricity grid is another example of a network that we choose to join when we plug our devices in. In the case of ONEST, there are 4 key verbs, and we'll talk more about them by subsequent speakers. But when you join this network, you can broadcast either what you're offering or what you would like. And once you broadcast, others can discover what? Either a service provider or someone who's demanding that service, if you're a service provider. Then the next question is, if you have broadcasted and somebody has discovered, how do you trust that what you've discovered is the right thing? How do you verify that what people are saying is indeed what they are? And last, transaction. And essentially, protocols are the way of enabling this network. And the subsequent speakers will talk more about this. And it is these protocols that creates interoperability. And it's the network, as more and more players join, that allow us to solve for both inclusion at the scale of India and innovation. We have, of course, over the last year or two, been inspired by the efforts of ONDC, which is leading the way for the entire country. And we have some of the key people behind ONDC, including the CEO Koshi joining us today. And ONDC is leading the way both in commerce and beyond. As a step, we consider it our duty and an honor to be able to incubate this network, which is an important step towards our goal of equitable access to opportunities. And we're also happy that in this journey, we are accompanied by many accomplished partners, ONDC as a network facilitator, FIDE as a protocol partner, Protean as a knowledge partner, and several other network participants. So without further ado, I think we will unveil the website and then get on with the rest of the proceedings. Anand, if you could.
Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
If there was a drum roll. We didn't have a digital drum roll to accompany this, but just to for everyone to emphasize, ONEST stands for Open Network for Education and Skilling Transactions. Shankar, we have a short video that we would like to play.
Please go ahead.
Thanks, Shankar. We will now get on to the rest of the presentation for the evening. Thank you for your inspiring words and highlighting the idea behind ONEST. Anand, I'd like to lead us forward.
Excellent. So the first 4 domains, and there could be several others which get added later, but the 4 domains which we are starting with are first learning experiences, which could mean discovery of a variety of things like content, courses, trainings, lesson plans, etc. The second domain is financial support. It could be of things like scholarships, grants, any kinds of funds, e-vouchers, etc. Use cases can be thought of, which can be towards a very targeted specific use case. Then work opportunities like internship, jobs, gigs, and expert connect, which could be basically discovering the right people for what your need is. It could be a mentor, it could be a coach, it could be a tutor, counseling, career counseling, and a host of other opportunities. So we're starting with these 4 domains first. And now I would like to invite Pramod. We all know Pramod, and he needs no introduction, but very quickly, he is the chief architect of Aadhaar and India Stack. He is the co-founder of FIDE and founding architect of Backend Protocol, and he's also the CTO at Ekstep Foundation. So over to you, Pramod, to just demystify this ONEST a little bit for all the participants today.
How long do I have?
As much as you want. 5 minutes.
Okay. No, it's wonderful. Wonderful to be here, and congratulations to the entire ecosystem. I know that at least a year, maybe more, that open source ecosystem has been including many of the participants who are sitting there, their teams have been grinding their way through. So there's a lot of homework that has gone into reaching here. So tremendously satisfied to see this is coming through. As I think there's a larger picture that is emerging, and this is very important to understand. While India built the underlying trust and enablement infrastructure like identity, payment, DigiLocker, which is a credentialing infrastructure, we have never so far opened up a transaction layer. And that's where all the value exchange happen, right? Really, patients able to find doctors, people able to find jobs, students able to find scholarships, and finding the right mentor. So we talked about some of those use cases here. I think the team will talk about it more. But the real key is that we are the movie Abhi Baki Hai, in the sense of much of our India's story is yet to be told. And it's going to emerge in the next few years. And ONDC is playing a pivotal role as a network facilitator to create an open network. And I see that question even in a Q&A. Is it like edX plus scholarship? It's not edX plus scholarship. I don't know how much time we have today, but I'm very sure we'll have more Ask Me Anything sessions and learning sessions by the community. So please do join the community. ONDC is not Amazon plus something. It is a very different way to look at consumers or seekers and providers, connecting those two over an open network rather than a platform. I don't want to go into the details today, but it fundamentally solves, as Shankar was also alluding to, fundamentally solves the significant cause of pain or friction in this society, which is discovery. And discovery leads to fragmentation. And fragmentation leads to somebody who has job, somebody wants job, can't find. Somebody has scholarship or CSR money to give scholarship. Of course, people want scholarship, can't find the right candidates. So somebody wants internship, but you can't find internship. You ask around your friends. That's a way to find internship today, right? So the fragmentation leads to significant inefficiencies in the system and loss of opportunity, economic opportunity, learning opportunities, and growth opportunities. So I think what open network is bringing is fundamentally what internet did to content. Internet brought discovery of content on a common network, but internet is not one platform. It is your blog server, company website, everybody talking, but talking via something called an HTTP protocol and HTML standards that allow the content to be exchanged and metadata to be exchanged and discovered and so on, right? Think same way. Think of what UPI did is to create many, many banks, many, many apps, many, many merchants, but all coherently interchanging money. In UPI, we interchange money. In internet, we interchange content, right? What ONDC is doing, and Beacon Protocol was the protocol behind ONDC, continue to be developed by open source community. Many of you are in the community, is driving a transaction protocol that creates a transaction web. So we send from content web to semantic web to transaction web. That's what we are moving to, right? And transaction web necessitates interoperability and the protocol so that many, many platforms can interchange value between each other. It could be a job platform and job seeker platform, right? Connecting each other. And these are the use cases we are trying to drive. So ONDC is a much larger, and Koshi is here to talk about it. Beacon protocol has a much wider implications to transaction web in one sense, so transaction internet in one sense. But today, sector by sector, India has to open it up. We have opened up retail and we have opened up some of that, but skilling and education is a peculiarly different sector that necessitates very careful understanding of habits, understanding of behaviors of that community, understanding the needs, understanding the incentive structures of the providers to be able to join. So we are going to use this time to incubate with all your help, this network, to iron out the protocols, iron out the technology, iron out the incentive structures, and iron out various other elements to fundamentally defragment and ensure economic value exchange can happen between any provider to any seeker, in this case, or any consumer. This we should all take photographs, by the way, on Zoom. Okay, this day is going to be very, very important day, because if we have histories are history tells us that it's going to be yet another success that's yet to happen, and 5 years later we would have solved something which is at scale that would drive significant opportunity unlock value and opportunities for the youth of India. And without it, we are doomed anyway. So we have no choice but to, all of us have no choice but to do something, think big, and do something, really big to create, bring everybody on a shared network with the common principles and common architecture behind it. So congratulations again to all your community members. It's an amazing, I am super excited about it. Like many things we all do, but look forward to the next few weeks and the next few months to see the growth of this community and the network. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pramod. So I would like to continue painting a picture of, a transaction, how the various legs of it, right? So it consists of being able to broadcast that, I have something or I want something. On the other side, somebody should be able to discover either the service or somebody who's looking for an opportunity. So there's a broadcast element. There's a discovery on the other side where the matchmaking happens. Ability to trust the person or the opportunity is coming from a, verified entity, or there are verifiable credentials behind the applications and so on and so forth. So the trust leg of it, and eventually the transaction. So initially we will be focusing first on solving the broadcast and discovery pieces, and eventually we get into trust and transaction. So that's the approach we are taking. So now I would like to,
in case you are projecting something, we are not seeing the slides.
So next slide.
Sorry. Okay. I think we had, yeah, thank you. So yeah, so as I was saying, the 4 legs, right? So initially the ability to broadcast, then on the other side, somebody has to discover that, ability to trust that, and therefore the transaction can happen. So the first 2, the broadcast and discovery is with which we will be starting, and eventually trust and transaction will follow. But the first emphasis is on broadcast and discovery. So moving on, it's my privilege and honor to invite Mr. Koshi. He needs, again, no introduction. He's the MD and CEO of ONDC and has been spearheading a lot of this network effort in the country. So Koshi, please, welcome, and please help us imagine some of the possibilities with ONEST.
Thank you. And first of all, let me congratulate the XStep team and all the community members for this great initiative of bringing education and skilling into this large idea of open network, what Pramod was explaining a few minutes ago, and all of us have been discussing and explaining in this session, is that we are creating a network where providers and seekers, they could be of any service or any product, come together without being tied up to any particular platform. It could be any platforms, but they can all talk to each other, discover each other, and have transactions with each other. So it is essentially going to drive the complete economic activities I'm just, while we call it open network or digital commerce, the idea is it is to drive the total economic activities, of whether it is goods, services, B2B, B2C, and so on and so forth. So when we look at that way, there's a lot of complementary things that has to, really drive this, whether it is finance, credit, education. Like, for example, if the commerce has to grow, you need trained people. And it could be enterprises wanting to train their employees or enterprises looking for trained employees. It could be that enterprises wanting to offer scholarship to encourage a creation of a trained set of people, or the seekers, the people who want to be trained and get skilled, looking for opportunities and even financial assistance. In that way, if you look at, they're all highly interconnected. The whole idea of open network is this interconnection become eminently possible and seamless. And there again, while this interconnected open network enables equal opportunity for everybody will not have the equal capability, which is whether it is in commerce or whether it is in skilling, whether it is education, this challenge is there. So as we create the whole technical and infrastructure to enable this equal opportunity transaction, as a collective, we also have the responsibility of supporting not so endowed enterprises and entities to equip themselves to take advantage of this equal opportunity. If it is in commerce, I will say the small and micro enterprise who is not digitally aware, digitally capable, has to be provided with the support of, whether it is to create digital catalog, whether it is to be digitally visible, or even having good business processes there. In the same fashion, when it comes to, in a strict sense, if you look at skilling, we can say that somebody can come and look for opportunity for training, and it should be available as a service. But every individuals in the country may not be able to do that, and there are different kind of skill providers may not have the opportunity to make it a commercial activity. It is not just commerce, it is all empowerment and enablement. So all these things become eminent, it has become important, and I'm very happy that XStep has now understood the importance of being an enabler to incubate a network in the education and skilling, which become a part of the larger network that we as a country is trying to build, and to make sure that it reaches certain amount of threshold level of activity so that it can sustain itself as a part of interconnected open network of every economic transaction that we have in this country. And I'm looking forward for a healthy association to make sure that we all work towards building this large open network of seekers and providers coming together, irrespective of what are they seeking and what they're providing. But they should be all able to talk the same language. They should be able to benefit from each other instead of jumping from one close group to another close group, at certain cost and inconvenience. Thank you all, and best of luck for the whole team on this endeavor.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for addressing us. And moving on, just a quick snapshot of all the participants which have come together till now. So you will see XStep as the network incubator, ONDC as a network facilitator, FIDE and Protean as partners, and then some of the digital infrastructure enablers as well as the community angle comes in. So Sunbird community and Beacon community have played a huge role in enabling this. And a host of network participants have already put up their hands to join the network. Please, feel free to reach us from the join us section on the website. The links will be shared in the chat, etc. For all of you, and happy to get more and more network participants. With that, I would just like to invite Mr. Suresh Sethi, who is the Managing Director and CEO of Protean. Suresh, if you could sort of help us understand, why do you think this is exciting and what kind of possibilities does this open up? Suresh, over to you.
Hey, thanks, Ray. First of all, again, a lot of celebration and compliments to the XStep team from bringing this together. I think a very, very critical part of our e-governance stack, as I would call it, because this is ultimately about providing citizens the ability to discover and make good in the education, skilling, and livelihood space. As an organization, Protean has been at the core of setting up a lot of digital public infrastructure. But when we look back, and I was seeing to Koshi's introduction, a lot of the things he did there in TAN, tax information network, or in type of building other ecosystems, they were all platform centric. The challenges were very similar. You were trying to bring the ecosystem together and connect it through technology, but it was a platform centric view, and one organization was trying to build for everybody. I think what makes it important as we see the prevalent technologies, and I think Aadhaar has in fact been a watershed moment, as Pramod rightly called out, where we were able to unbundle and create an open stack. And while the digital goods were laid out as a central network, you could have multiple participants come in, engage, participate, and collaborate and provide services. The core open services stack was able to then create a discovery layer where you could discover the supply side from the demand side. So I'm very excited about it, along with other things we do where we create tax-related infrastructure and all. We've also created an education-related infrastructure, which is more platform-centric. Today, we do see that at times we have a demand side, which is 50 times stripping the supply side, but the challenge remains discovery. So people who are, for example, we run a scholarship platform, and for people who are seeking scholarship, today the numbers are totally sort of divergent. You have 50 times more people seeking scholarship than people who are there on the platform who can afford to give scholarship. So an open network like this will be very, very critical in connecting the demand and supply side. And we do see that this unbundling of value will bring all players together. And trust is going to be critical, because something like this will help us to ensure that the right people are there in the platform. And we look at models like ONDC and all, which are actually setting a path-breaking role in creating these open networks. While we are democratizing e-commerce, similarly, we can democratize other ecosystems and bring all the market participants together. So very excited about it, and wishing everybody the best, and looking forward to contribute it to the best of our abilities. Thank you so much, Suren.
Okay. Thanks, Suresh, for your words. We will now jump into the experiencing the possibilities, which some of the early participants have brought to life, by working on the sandbox. The first one is about content discovery. I will now invite Baljit from Tekri to take us through that.
Cool. Thank you, Suren. Welcome everyone to the launch of ONEST. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for whichever part of the world that you're joining us today. So what I'll be showcasing is the learning experiences on the ONEST network. We have a sandbox environment where I'll showcase what are the possibilities that you could do on the ONEST network. What I have here in the sandbox, where I have a provider organization that is tagging their existing content, which is part of their repository and their network, and it is adding their existing content to the ONEST network by selecting some simple metadata. I'll also showcase how a seeker organization is able to discover the same content that was added to the network. So that's what I'm going to showcase quickly. Let's head over to the seeker side of it. This is the sandbox environment, and where user has an option to select the content or they discover the content based on their liking. So if they wanted to choose the content which was an audio content or select and video content, they can just simply use a filter. Or if they were looking for a content for a specific language, it was very easy for them to filter it out. Now, a seeker is able to use all of this filter. This is because a provider who's already registered onto the network. So if you wanted to add your content to the network, you have to be registered on the network. And what I'm using is a pre-registered provider. So I'm assume that I'm from Pratham, and I'll be adding some of my content to the ONEST network. All that I'll have to do is provide a simple metadata, which is what is the name of the content, language, theme, and link. So bear with me till I add my demo content quickly. So it's in Hindi. Now you have an option to choose variety of themes here. This is a video content that I'm adding now. It's the link to the content. As you can see, the content actually belongs to the Pratham network. Along with this metadata, what you have is also you can select the new curriculum framework, the NCF framework for foundational stage that was recently released. So, and then what you could do is you can actually tag your content to the new NCF framework. And before I choose the framework, I'll just quickly show you that, there is an Explore app also, by clicking on which you can actually explore the NCF framework and see the domain goal and competencies in the NCF framework, right? Coming back to the provider interface, where I'll select the domain, a curriculum, and competency. So it is that easy to register a new content. I'll switch back to my seeker org and see that, my content is kind of available. And yes, I can see that, the content that I had is available. And me as a seeker, I can go open the content. And what it would do is actually redirect me to the provider org, to the repository, and I can consume the content. So that's what I have to show you quickly, how a provider organization is adding their content to the ONEST network, and how SeekerOrg is consuming the same. So that's it from my side, and thank you.
Thanks, Gurjeet. So what you saw was a possibility of content discovery, where in the phase one we are focusing on as Anand was articulating, 4 key domains and discovery to start with, where we eventually get to end-to-end transactions and trust later. There's one more possibility that has come together through an open source community that was trying to imagine the scholarship workflow. Yeah, so it's a combination of contribution from Protean and open source volunteers from Beck and Open Collective and Sunbird communities who've put together the next possibility of scholarship discovery. We've recorded a video to make it simpler for everyone to just watch through it. I hope it gave everyone a glimpse of what can be possible through the network. And this is just early start. These were put up on the sandbox in a matter of very short time. Yep. Up next, we have Fireside Chat. And today we have our host who has also been running various podcasts on Seed to Forest. So we have Gaurav Gupta with us, Chief Growth Officer at Xstep. He has more than 20 years of cross-functional experience across several industries. He's a startup guy and played a significant role in growth journeys of multiple startups and new initiatives. And he's an alum of XLRI. He's been recently doing a podcast series called Seed to Forest. You could follow the Xstep Foundation or his personal account to listen to some of those interesting podcasts. Over to you, Gaurav.
Thank you, Suren.
Gaurav, if you would like to introduce the Fireside Chat.
All right, I'll do that. So, hello everyone, and as I introduced everyone, I want everyone to give a smile. I just saw that everyone was quite serious during the entire thing so far. So I have with me Nitin, who's the co-founder and general partner at Antler. Hello, Nitin. How are you?
I'm good, Gaurav. Thank you so much.
All right. I'll just quickly go around introducing Nishant from the Pratham team. He has been behind many technology innovations that Pratham has been doing. Hi, Nishant.
Hey, everyone. Glad to be here.
Then there's Shashank. Shashank is a co-founder at Convegenius, also SwiftChat.ai, which has been building many revolutionary AI-based products and solutions in the education and skilling domain. Hi, Shashank.
Hi, Gaurav. Happy to be here.
Thoda smile. Yes. And then there's Ashutosh. Ashutosh is the founder and CEO at Buddy for Study, which helps children find scholarships and mentorships quite easily through the platform and the efforts that they've been making over the last decade or so. Hi, Ashutosh.
Hi, Gaurav. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Great. And last but not the least, Sumit Tayal. Sumit is the CEO at Give Grants, has been instrumental in shaping grant making in the country across diverse sectors and looking to be again a part of the network. Hi, Sumit.
Hi, Gaurav. Lovely to be here. Thanks for making me a part of this conversation.
Great. Thank you. And by the way, all of the panelists here today are also network participants of ONEST. So thank you everyone for making time and welcome to all of you. Shashank, I'll first ask this question to you that, you just saw some of the demonstrations and in the past we've been talking about ONEST, right? What are you excited about? And of course, you saw this demonstration also of how discovery of content becomes easy. So can you speak for a bit about, what does it mean for you?
Yeah, Gaurav. So thanks for having me here. Now, when I was looking at these videos, I reflected on our journey of building EdTech for the masses. I think it took us 5 years to partner with 30 companies for content because, we believe that there's enough content available. We don't need to build it from scratch. We were always focused on the taxonomy and the experience of the content. So what took us 5 years could now possibly be done in 5 hours with this network in place. So that is a big opportunity. I think what this can solve for, we spoke a lot about discovery of content, but let's just add 4 more Ds to it. So I think along with discovery, it will solve for distribution, right? It will solve for differentiation. It's very difficult for an end consumer to differentiate between multiple offerings when it comes to content and skilling. So distribution, differentiation, and that could also lead to dynamic pricing, which is again a big pain point. How do you commoditize something like EdTech, right? Which changes with every need and requirement. And fourth, and the last point is the divide. Right, we have been talking about a lot of policies like NEP solving for divide, vernacularizing it, everything. But a lot is not happening in the digital space. Digital space is still very English medium focus. So I think with this, I'm hopeful that along with discovery, it will solve for distribution, differentiation, dynamic pricing, and the divide that exists in the country today. And today there are 9,000 edtech startups. With this, possibly we'll have thousands of more startups, but building meaningful solutions and not building everything on their own. Thank you.
Excellent. In fact, I'll just use some other words to describe the same things that you said, Shashank, which is how does it bring in equity, inclusion, diversity, and of course, catering to the entire country as such in terms of the different contexts and the kind of requirements which are out there, and creating a much more open space for people to compete on more even grounds. Nishant, on this point, let me bring you in, right? You have been, working especially in the foundational literacy and numeracy space for a long time. Pratham needs no introduction, has been a big player in the space. And of course, a lot of efforts made by Pratham have significantly helped children improve their literacy and numeracy skills, especially in the early childhood. Now, how do you look at the network? What excites you about it? So, of course, Shashank brought in the perspective of this from a seeker perspective, but anything that you would like to highlight from a provider perspective or even from a seeker perspective as Pratham, in terms of Pratham's journey?
Thanks, Gaurav. I think first and foremost, congratulations to Team XTEP. This is going to be monumental, I think, as alluded to already. The opportunity that I see primarily, Gaurav, is to get everyone to be a big player and not have these islands of innovations, but rather whatever Pratham has in terms of content, resources, or anything to offer, that should be available to everybody else without having to go through the hoops that I think Shashank also alluded to, of the challenges of jumping through platforms. As Pramod said, if we speak the same language, it becomes much more easier. And that's probably the one big opportunity that I see right now of multifold impact of each organization. And in terms of the discovery of it, or discovery of these opportunities, that's where I see the multifold impact to be much higher. While Pratham may continue to focus on and should continue to focus on basic numeracy and literacy and the program that we have been doing, but then opportunities of scholarship for youth in the same community become accessible, and that's something that Pratham can now offer because it is talking to a network that has got like-minded partners and players on it. So the discovery is going to definitely lead to multifold impact, and that's the primary thing that I'm super excited.
Excellent. Thank you, Nishant. And you mentioned a very important thing, which is what can be the common language which enables this, right? And in that context, taxonomy and how content gets linked to taxonomy to ease discovery by everyone becomes quite important. So on this point, let me bring Nitin in. Nitin, as we were speaking a few days back, you spoke about, how as an investor, especially, this aspect of taxonomy can really unlock a lot of value for you as an investor in different firms. So can you speak about that?
Sure. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. As investors who invest at the very first step of innovation and startup creation, we are very excited about what ONDC and Beacon are doing foundationally in India. And it's great to see ONEST as one of the first instances outside of commerce. And we think it can be game-changing at a population level. And this kind of work is clearly not happening anywhere else in the world. So congratulations to all of you. I think EdTech is right now very maligned, and people complain it's neither education nor tech. And I think there are great players and not so great players. But one of the things that foundationally can change, I believe, is sort of much needed standardization, right? And that can happen at sort of the content level, it can happen at the skills level, and it can happen at financial aid level. To your question, I've been looking at EdTech for about 15 years now in the US and in India, and adaptive learning is a phrase that's been thrown around for a long time. true personalization, Bloom's law, and these kinds of concepts to say that you can make learning truly adaptive, but that requires knowledge graphs. And knowledge graphs require automated content tagging. And it's not just right now something that too many companies replicate in their own ways and end up wasting a lot of resources, but it also creates a lot of confusion because you don't know what to trust. It's one company's claims against another. So to me, standardization of taxonomies and content and creating that portability of the learning profile, right? Where a student across high school, college, later on post-secondary, everything can actually have a truly portable learning profile that you can trust as in verifiable credentials is a very powerful idea. And it has to be done at a population scale. So I think it can change fundamentally the trust and economics of some of these businesses. And would even say that if this was to realize its potential, would make the whole space far more investable, also from a private venture capital perspective. And I think on the same applies on the skills side as well, right? The skills and credentials part of it. There is a lot of value in sort of being that single source of truth. Single sources of truth are very valuable. So I really like the idea that we are talking about registries for institutes, for skills, for any kind of service providers. And that combined with a skill graph and a knowledge graph where you can discover, trust, and transact, I think that could be game changing. So I really think that going beyond DigiLocker, right? Until now, we've talked about all of this in the sense of DigiLocker as a place to seek education credentials and transport them. But moving away from just degrees to actually talking about skills and other credentials is quite powerful.
Excellent, Nitin, and you've touched upon quite a few things which are important in this context, right? Because the question was also from the perspective of discovery and how taxonomy and knowledge graph plays a role, but you brought in a huge dimension, different set of dimensions to this, which is how credentialing, how storage of those credentials, how the profile can be leveraged for different aspects. And one such aspect, of course, which Nishant also alluded to in terms of the complementary role that scholarships and grants can play in terms of furthering the cause of education and skilling in the country is quite important. So herein, I would like to bring in Sumit. Sumit, you've been at it for a while. Of course, GIVE has been around for a long time doing it in this space, right? And there are obviously challenges that a large grant making organization has to deal with. So what do you think ONEST enables? Why are you excited about it?
Gaurav, I'm excited because time and time again, we've realized that the amount of capital available is higher than the amount that can be actually used up. So there is no, if you look at it, there's no shortage of people who would, let's take the scholarship use case, right? Because we've been talking about it, different people have been using it as an example. Are there enough people in India who would need a scholarship, partial or full, at various stages of their academic life? It's a no-brainer, yes. Are there enough providers who could provide that education? Good, medium, bad, whatever, right? Sure, yes. The third angle of this is who's going to pay for it. That is indeed in short supply. It definitely, the sources of capital we deal with, which could be CSR, which could be donors, individual or HNIs or whatever, mathematically, they don't add up. Yet, there is enough and more capital that is available to be deployed that does not get deployed because demand doesn't get discovered. So if a network like this means that people who are at the last mile are able to come onto a network, find the product that they need, actually make use of it, funding for that actually gets utilized. CSR today loves the fact that education and skilling are so amenable to CSR law and the restrictions that are in there. Almost 10,000 crores across CSR and all other forms of giving find their way into these two sectors. And there can be a lot more than that. If the transaction were to actually get facilitated in a secure, in a trusted manner, that can even be verified. Those are critical for giving to happen. And I see that possibility opening up here. for education and skilling to grow with, to begin with, but I'm also hoping will extend beyond these two to other domains.
Right. Absolutely. Well said, Sumit, because you brought in the angle of that, the capital is there, but how can it reach many more people? How do you uncover demand, and how do you do it in a trusted, verifiable fashion? So Ashutosh, I recall you describing me as yourself to me as, you stand for the students, right? And your intent is to take the best available options to students. And of course, here you heard many others speak about what the network can enable, and especially Sumit, that there is capital, it's waiting to get deployed in the right fashion. So your take, looking at this, especially from a seeker perspective, and what excites you about this?
So very first, thank you, Gaurav, and many congratulations to EkStep for this wonderful initiative. I think you are opening a very big open opportunities for millions and millions of students. So now just to a small, I think I am first time in a session or in a conversation, I am listening so many times scholarships. I think it's very rare to listen a scholarship more than 2 times in any 1 hour of panel. So very happy and humbling to have this kind. So so about small thing about Buddy for Study is it is India's most popular trusted scholarship platform where more than 50 lakh students are seeking. So the video which we saw in the first Maya, so we have more than 50 lakh Maya in our ecosystem who are looking for scholarships. Scholarships come from all government, corporate, foundation, universities, HNI, NRI, you name it. And however, in this 11 years of journey, we are able to help more than 64,000 students with 250 crore worth of scholarships. Now, even though we are saying we are very happy, and if 64,000 students are being benefited, it is actually less than 2% of the total student who come to us for opportunities. Now, rightly, Sumit sir mentioned, and many of us know that there is no dearth of scholarship supply intentions, whether organizations, whether individuals, but somehow, somewhere, the system is missing. And we are able to build, we are building it. And I think this open network, this ONEST, will help us to build this transparency and this trust, which discovery, broadcasting, all those things. So on behalf of my students and all the students who are especially coming from humble background, underprivileged background, and struggling to continue their education, I feel this is very exciting. And also, it's not only the scholarships which they need more services, like students who receive a scholarship but small amount, they need education loan, they need mentorship, they need educational resources, career counseling, medical insurance, internet plans, internships, job opportunities. There are so many angles of it, and most of these, we call it equity opportunities. So I think this equity opportunities for every student, they should have discoverability for them in this at the right time. So we are trying our best, but I think what we have achieved in 11 years, I think with this ONEST, it will be very fast. For having one partner, I think Shashank mentioned 30 partners. We have 100 partners, but it took us 10 years. So definitely, I think the cost of time, resource, effort, everything will be minimized for us. So I'm very excited. Means on behalf of students at one place, finding all courses, loan, scholarships, career counseling, college selection, everything. So it's very, very fulfilling to know and see this growing.
Excellent. No, thanks, Ashutosh, because with this, you've highlighted the important aspect of how speed and scale in terms of a network of opportunities being enabled across diverse use cases is what this can really enable. So with this, let me get a quick 30-second opinion from each one of you about what do you see as possibilities unfolding over the next 1 year or so. Shashank, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I think we have been discussing about these revolutionary ideas like learning passport, learning fingerprint, academic bank of credit, right? A lot of this is written in the NEP, but this was difficult to execute. But with this ONEST framework in place, I believe that that should become easy, because attribution now becomes easy. Now, different players can focus on different things. Somebody can focus on resource, somebody can focus on taxonomy, somebody can just focus on the experience of it, and all of them can play together because attribution is now clear. And with that, I think I'll just want to make the statement that probably with this framework in place, we don't need a bada investment or a bada code, but probably a bada dil for everybody to come together and make big things happen.
Shashank, you've been excellent at coming up with these phrases. I will remember this, bada dil is what is needed. But let me ask here the bada dil wala aadmi as we all see it. Nitin, what do you see? 30 seconds.
No, as I said, I think that, this expands the market potentially, right? So as VCs, especially at the early stage, I think you're looking for new markets or expansion of markets, and any kind of digital public infrastructure increases that opportunity for all market participants, right? So what is more exciting for me is to imagine the possibilities of the new business. Like, for example, what Sumit mentioned about the giving and financial aid part. We never think of financial aid as an area of venture investment, but why not, right? There may be some very interesting possibilities when you have more efficient ways of dispersing. So whether it's content, whether it's the skills and credentials part, whether it's the financial aid, I'm just very fascinated by sort of new business models that haven't been imagined anywhere else because this infrastructure doesn't exist anywhere else.
Excellent. Nishant, your take on this?
I think in a 1 year time period, it would be very interesting to see the number of integrations that happen, and would also be interesting to see the number of organizations that are honest towards skilling and education. That would probably go a very long way in establishing this as a very viable means of multiplying the impact that each organization has.
Awesome. I wouldn't want to use that term that, if organizations are honest. Of course, they become network participants with honest is what we would hope for. Ashutosh?
So I will say Vidyadrati Vinyam is the first step to being happy. So with this network, what I am feeling is right now our percentage is around 2.83% of the student receiving a scholarship. With more supply and more opportunity coming together, we may increase the definition of a scholarship, not only for financial aid, but many other things as well. Because now we have access to a lot of valued opportunities for the student. So we have a plan internally. I think that the percentage will grow by 10% from 2.8 right now in next 3 to 5 years of time with more partnerships coming along.
Right. So some help redefine the way scholarships or grants are looked at today to create many, many more options and types of products. Sumit, your take on that and looking at the next 1 year or so?
I think I'm really curious to see what part becomes the bottleneck, whether it's the demand side or the supply side, as more and more participants come onto the platform, which one actually leads the transactions. Because really, as those start happening is when the value of this will really come out. And we know the size is very, very large on both sides. The value will be proven by, the ones who actually land up and make the transactions happen. So really looking forward to it and the pace at which it happens.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I'll just summarize quickly. You're all saying that this can lead to a massive value unlock, also in terms of expanding the market. And while doing so, of course, opening up an entire network of opportunities and options that it can create for both individuals as well as organizations under the realm of education and skilling to begin with. With that, thank you so much, all of you. It was a pleasure talking to you about this.
Thank you, Gaurav.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Suren?
Yes. Thank you, all the panelists, and very interesting, amazing comments. And thanks, Gaurav, for hosting the fireside chat. We will quickly now invite the next speaker, which is, Sujit will show us the way forward. Sujit is the CEO and co-founder at FIDE. FIDE is the organization which is supporting Beacon Protocol from the beginning. Sujit, helped launch the Kochi Open Mobility Network and also co-conceptualized ONDC. Of course, remember the initial days when Becken was still being born and would bump into Sujit quite often at work. Sujit, welcome. Over to you.
Thank you, Anand. So delighted to be here. Big congratulations. Pramod, I did take a screenshot, yes, and we'll revisit that year on year to see how far we have come along. And this is a moment of reckoning and history being made here. So glad to be part of it. And yeah, so since we're talking about education, let me tell you that it's that hour of the class where we talk about classwork, homework, and work, how to put all these ideas into practice. So this is where we talk about what's ahead of us. This is indeed a great beginning in terms of what we have started off. But we also heard what should be the sort of aspirations we should have for the first 1 year. Of course, thinking bigger than that at population scale. Beyond that, but given all of that, how do we get started? And there were some incredibly great questions in the Q&A while the conversations were ongoing. Some of those questions were questions coming from basic understanding of how this whole thing works, the protocol and all that. So don't worry, we have your back covered. In fact, this has been an effort as an open source community that's been working on taking Becken as an open discoverable network and trying to find ways to apply it for skilling and education. So we will have some of that learning and playbook from the community effort being available to all those who are here today wanting to join this effort and be part of this network. With that, Anand, should we just present the way forward path and the milestones? Yes, here we are. So technically we are open today for taking in all the registration of the network participants to be part of the network. It's all available on the website, the registration link. If there's any challenges, issues with accessing it, please do let us know. Anand, Suren, or me, whoever, we can probably help you do that. But with the participation opening, we are hoping that we will be able to put together the first cohort by 30th of July. In fact, it is voluntary. You can still register and choose to not be part of the first founding cohort, but it'll always help if you can use this excitement to cash in and go in early and be part of the first cohort, which we're trying to close by 30th of July. In the meantime, of course, there'll be a lot of other sort of toolkit that will be put together, including the concept paper, which sort of distills some of the conversations we had today, put them into very simple concepts for people to not just learn, understand, but also imagine with ONEST, and continuing with the work that the community has done in the last year and a half. Then we will start sort of the first sort of efforts in putting together the first integration and dry run. As Anand was mentioning, initially we will probably start with the discovery piece and move on to the later stages of the life cycle. But that's something that we will decide, agree as a cohort and work together. We do have the infrastructure for your engineering teams to come and start building something quickly. We do have the sandboxes available. You saw some of the demos. So we also have some of the examples for you to imagine the aspects of scholarship and other things that we want to do. And the aspiration is that with the first cohort, hopefully we have a good set of provider side and consumer side platforms available. We definitely need two to have a network, but we're hoping that it will be good 10, 15 of them or more to be ready for a go live on 28th of August. And it's just a go live to begin with, and then we'll continuously learn, improve, apply. And for all those who are on the call, this is a voluntary effort. Everybody comes in as a volunteer, which means that we are not just learning to help ourselves get onto the network, but we'll also, as a community, help others who are joining in late or probably struggling with some of these things. So that's the spirit with which we intend to take this off. I will look forward to the next phase of this work, which is all action, and looking forward to joining you on this path to go live and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Sujit, for throwing light on the way forward. We'll quickly sum it up now by just highlighting the website onest.network, where all the resources will be put out eventually. For any queries, you can write to hello@onest.network or join the discussion forum, the link of which is also provided on the website.
And I think some people are facing problem in right now on clicking join us. So please, we are fixing it shortly. Meanwhile, you can feel free to write to us at hello@onest.network while that gets fixed, and discussion forum is obviously there for you to come start discussing.
Right. So on behalf of everyone here in the room and all those who joined us virtually, and the open source community which has been supporting this for a while, and will continue to support the way forward. Thank you, everyone. It was an interesting and exciting moment for all of us to announce the onset of ONEST Network. Thanks. Have a good evening.